See, you do business with people you trust. So that trust factor is very critical for any sales to happen.
Right.
So I clearly observed that if a company has to grow, then it can't be a person's company. It has to be our company. The CEO must put the company's interests ahead of his own personal interests.
Hi friends, welcome to the Sales Algorithm. I'm Rangan Jayakrishnan, and as you all know, I am covering this series talking to successful founders and entrepreneurs. And today's is the fourth episode. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest, Dr. Anand Deshpande, founder and chairman of Persistent Systems. Dr. Anand is a true pioneer of the IT industry. He is the founder, chairman, and managing director of Persistent Systems since inception and is responsible for the overall leadership of the company. Anand holds a bachelor degree, BTech with honors in computer science from IIT Kharagpur and an MS and a PhD in computer science from Indiana University, Bloomington. He has been recognized by both his alma maters as a distinguished alumnus in 2012 by IIT Kharagpur and by the School of Informatics of Indiana University with the Career Advancement Award in 2007. Anand is a true technology visionary and has been the driving force in growing Persistent Systems from its inception in 1990 to today. Prior to founding Persistent Systems, Anand began his professional career at Hewlett-Packard Laboratories in Palo Alto, California, where he worked as a member of the technical staff from 1989 May to October 1990. And after transitioning from the CEO role at Persistent in 2019, Dr. Deshpande is committed to making a broader impact and works closely on several initiatives in entrepreneurship, data, biotechnology, health, research, and higher education. He is the founding trustee of Persistent Foundation, which is responsible for Persistent's corporate CSR with his family members. And Anand has established the DeAsra Foundation. This non-profit entity has a scalable platform to support nano entrepreneurs. The foundation has supported nearly 300,000 nano entrepreneurs. In collaboration with Dr. Korwar, he has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs scale their businesses through the Second Orbit program. He is a trustee of the VLDB Foundation and is actively working on projects to create a data platform for Indian patients suffering from cancer and diabetes. He is the co-chair of the governing body of the Biotechnology Research Innovation Council, and he is an honorary adjunct professor of practice at the Desai Sethi School of Entrepreneurship at IIT Bombay. He also serves as the chairman of the board of governors of IIT Patna, IIT Allahabad, and VJTI Mumbai. In the past, he has served numerous positions at various professional and non-profit organizations, NASSCOM's Executive Council, founding president of Association for Computing Machinery in India, and Software Experts Association of Pune, the Pune chapter, founding member of the Unique Identification Authority, founding member of Indian Software Products Industry Roundtable, iSpirit, founding member of I4C, a member of the Dean's Advisory Council in the School of Informatics, Computing and Engineering of Indiana University. He was on the governing board of the College of Engineering Pune and on the board of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. Anand is married to Sonali and they have a daughter, a son, and a daughter-in-law. So welcome, Anand, and it's an honor to have you today in the podcast.
Thank you, JK. Thank you for inviting me today. Yes, it's a pleasure for me as well to be on your Sales Algorithm podcast and looking forward to an exciting interaction.
Thank you so much. So just as we begin, my first question to you, Anand, is you started Persistent with just $21,000 and built it into $1 billion company within a generation, really an incredible journey. You came from a non-business background. Your dad worked for BHL. You were in the township. You went on to do computer science, BTech in IIT Kharagpur. Further went on to do your MS and PhD. Now, what fascinates me is your decision to start a company in India in the early 90s, a time when very few PhDs returned to India unless they were pursuing academic careers. And back then, the environment for business in India wasn't particularly very encouraging. There were more roadblocks than support systems, if you call that way. And it was really very challenging. And also for the tech companies, India was not really in the map. In fact, the kind of work that was outsourced to India was very low level. So what sparked your decision to start a business in India? And, under these circumstances back then, how did you manage to navigate and overcome those early barriers to not only build a business, but build one with a lasting impact?
So coming back to India was a personal family decision. And in general, when entrepreneurs start a business, they're looking at their timelines rather than global or market environment.
Sure.
So what India was or whatever was not really a consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I had finished my PhD in 89. I had 18 months to work as part of my J1 visa practical training that I had. I worked 17 and a half months and came back.
Okay.
So my timing was pretty much determined by that more than anything else. And I had always wanted to come back to India, at least give it a shot first rather than try anything in the US. So coming back was the main motivation for being here. And then once I got back, it was after very little thinking, it was very clear that starting my own would have been more exciting than joining somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So both of those sort of happened concurrently. And I came back in October 90, almost 35 years back, and set up Persistent at that point. And the government had started out this new scheme, which was called the Software Technology Park Scheme. It is now quite popular. It's called the STP. And it was set up by the Secretary of the Department of Electronics, Mr. N. Vittal, who I credit a lot of our early success and the early inspiration to my coming back.
Mm-hmm. Great. Absolutely. And I have been following your podcast, and you had said somewhere that before even starting the company, you already had 2 contracts in hand. One was a kind of a friend from Indiana who was starting his own business, who was writing some SBIRs, and you jointly wrote with him, and that was one. And the next was O2 Technologies. So pretty much you had these 2 in hand before you even came or started. So especially when I look at the current startup founders, they are more focused on the product or the service first. I mean, they get to a MVP first on the product before they reach out to early adopters or customers. So what's your perspective on that? I mean, how important was it, or why was it that you thought it is important to have the customers first? And
so the model that we were trying to work, where we were building software from India for a global market, was not tested and tried out. So it was very important to get some validation on that. So both of these customers, like you pointed out, I had known them while I was in the US, and traveling in and out would have been very complicated. So before I came back to India, I had asked them if they would make a soft commit in terms of the kind of work that we could do for them. And they all said yes, and they said, go back, figure things out, get your infra started, and then we will consider this. So that's really how it happened.
Fantastic. And you said that, had said in that same podcast, that your third customer was already Microsoft. So was that also through your network, or?
Yes, most of the early customers happened through networks. So, when you're selling as well, one of the most important aspects of sales is, you do business with people you trust. So that trust factor is very critical for any sales to happen.
Absolutely.
And in the early days, when your company has no company credentials per se to talk about, then your personal credentials sort of are the ones that you are trying to count on for the trust factor. And hence, many of the early customers came through the trust network.
Right.
And even now, many of our customers that come to us also still come because the trust network, that they would have worked with someone or they know about us, and they come and reach out to us because they feel like they can get what they are looking for. So trust is the number one theme in terms of anybody trying to build a thing, and credibility is critical. And when you are a startup or an early stage company without any track record, then it's your personal credibility that is online.
Correct. Absolutely.
And that is really why this was the case.
Absolutely. And do you think that startups should really go after marquee customers right in the beginning? I mean, the first few customers or early adopters, is it very important? What is your take on that? I mean,
so having marquee customers really helps. So the fact that we had Microsoft very early on in our journey really helped us, because after that we could tell other people that whole, especially when we were starting out, right? India, doing business out of India, doing software out of India was not the done thing.
Correct.
So being able to say that, we have somebody like a Microsoft who trusted us for doing project work for them was very valuable in that sense. And it helped us get other businesses in the future, because that credibility check mark that was needed got established from that. So I always encourage people to look at marquee customers, but the other side of it is equally important, right? The marquee customers have many options.
Right.
They could go to anybody they feel like.
Absolutely.
So why should they come to you, right?
Right.
So that is the key thing that you need to think about.
Right.
So if you have something to offer that, is you're eager to do it, you are willing to get things to happen quickly, you can convince them to make quick decisions, and you are able to support them, then that works out really best. Because if there is a need, then there is a business that will happen.
Absolutely.
So need is one of those, again, just like trust. You may have trust, but if there is no need, there is no business.
Surely.
So creating that need and responding to that need is a very important aspect. And large customers also have needs, but it's always harder to find what you are offering to them that aligns with their need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is really a little bit of you have to be at the right place at the right time.
I agree with you. And I think if the marquee customers start seeing value in what you're doing,
Correct.
in your minimum value viable product, and they start investing their own time and resources on that, it's already a kind of an engagement that you have had. I mean, even though they may have other options, when they start looking at you seriously, that's already a kind of engagement.
Sure, you already have a track record that definitely helps.
Correct. Great. You have also spoken in the past about S-curves, how companies, kind of grow, gain momentum, and eventually plateau unless they kind of consciously reinvent themselves. And that reinvention is what helps them to leap into the next orbit. Now, as a hands-on founder who started out doing much of the coding yourself, can you walk us through what that transition was like for you when you really went into the second orbit from your first? Was it too hard to give up coding? Because even today you are so much attached to computer science, and you still read a lot about algorithms and read a lot about this stuff. So how difficult was it, this transition from my company to our company, in your own words?
No, I think there are two different parts here. So this my company to our company transition, I would say, would be sometime in 96, 97. And the intention there was, when we started out, we were a very small business. And I always felt at that point that this was my company in a way. And we were working on very exciting projects, and quality of work was good. But when looking at new projects, I always felt that if I accept this, then my work content would go up and it would be too much headache, and let's say no, because we just can't do it.
Okay.
So, but then, in 96, 97, we had an offsite, and we had about 60 people in the company, and we had all gone someplace. And one of the guys kind of asked me this question that, you are saying no because you think it'll add to your workload.
Yeah.
But we are here. Why don't you trust us to do the work? And maybe if you trust us and we can do it, then why can't we grow? Because we can also start to contribute.
Right.
What is our role in this thing, right?
Right.
And that got me thinking a lot in a big way. And I had spent a summer working with another company here in Pune. And one of the challenges that company had was that it was always one person's company, and they were never able to grow. Right. So I clearly observed that if a company has to grow, then it can't be a person's company. It has to be our company.
Correct.
So we decided to transition from my company to our company. And when you look at our company, it's our company. A lot of people involved. Everyone has their own. It belongs to everyone in a way. And in that context, what I realized is that if I'm the CEO of our company, then I should be the CEO if I'm putting, and the CEO must put the company's interests ahead of his own personal
Absolutely,
interest or her personal interest. So clearly, if I want to be the CEO of the company, I should do the kind of work that the company needs the most,
absolutely,
not necessarily what I want to do.
absolutely,
So what I want to do is important, but really I must make sure that I am prioritizing the work that the company wants me to do over the fact that doing it myself for myself. So that was sort of the sort of realization that I had, and I said that if I want to remain the CEO, then I should do what is right for the company first. And that's sort of when I figured that at that point the company was about 60 to 75 people, and things were going well, but we had enough people who could write code. But there weren't enough people who were selling well.
Oh yeah.
So I decided that it would make a lot more sense for me to go full time into sales rather than divide my time between sales and coding. And while I did not give up coding at that point, I stopped including my code in the projects that we were shipping.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I continued to code for my own recreational purposes, and I still look at it all the time. But that was less for customers. Now it was for me. But that was sort of the transition that we made. So in 97, I realized that the company needs me to spend more time in the sales process and
Correct.
focusing on the customer side of the business. And that's when I decided that I should devote most of my time to those kinds of activities.
Correct. So very rightly said that you moved from my company to our company.
Correct. And then as part of our company, what happens is that one important thing that is very, very visible is that when it's my company, then people in the company work for me.
Right.
And the vision of the company is what I decide is the vision of the company. It's my vision of the company. However, when it becomes our company, everybody in the company, including the CEO, which would be me at this point, would work for the company. And all the employees also work for the company. They don't work for me anymore. They work for the company.
Right.
And what the mission or the vision of the company is, it belongs to the company.
Correct.
Not to any individuals. So that clarity of setting things up where the company is the focus or the center of the universe makes a huge difference. And that change was very critical for us.
Yes.
And that transition of changing where you as a founder become the center of the universe to the company move to being making the company the center of the universe. That transition, I think, is very critical for founders. And that is one important aspect of this my company to our company transition.
Right. And that transition, I mean, is the most difficult for the founder himself.
Yes.
Rather than for the employees. For the employees, it's more like, doing stuff that the whole company wants. But for you as a founder, moving from that to the company's vision is kind of, at times you feel that you're giving away something,
Yeah. So, correct. But that is the critical transition that is needed, because if you don't make that transition, then of course it will remain your company.
Many founders, I think, are stuck with they don't.
The companies will not grow if that happens, because you're in that kind of a context, you are kind of sized or bounded by the capabilities of the founder and their ability to take it forward.
Correct.
So if the company must grow, I think having it be our company really helps.
Absolutely. Very well said. So, as you go into the second orbit, you start looking at ways of scaling. So, one of that is sales. The other thing is about partners and alliances. So, how did partnerships play a role in expanding your customer base during that phase, during the second orbit? I mean, did you go after partners, or did partners come after you, or something? How was that phase?
So, two ways it happened. One is, of course, in the early days, we were working with customers and building products for them. And over a period of time, we realized that many of those for whom we were building products, they were keen that we take their products to the market or partner with them to deploy their products in the market. And that transition sort of happened because of that, where we were working with the customers who were actually building products, and they said, why we have this customer who has a deployment requirement, why would you not want to consider partnering with us to do professional services work for them? And that's really how that thing happened. And we realized that in certain cases, the partners we work with have a much better Rolodex and can bring us into newer deals.
Absolutely.
So that was an important validation of the strategy. So we accepted the fact that the partners can bring in new business for us, and it aligns with the customers as well. Now, if you look at Persistent's business as such, right? Our business at that point was mostly working with software product companies, building products for them. And our partnership was also driven from that side. So it was very aligned and it was sort of back to back. So we were not going to customers and finding them the right products to install or implement, but we were working with our customers and helping them deploy their products at customer sites,
Right.
which were now jointly our customers as well.
This is a very unique strategy at that point in time, I would think. I mean, it was more or less like outsourcing the product development itself or something like that.
No, they were outsourcing product development to us from the very early days. That has been our main business anyway. And this was unique where we would say, okay, we have built the product, so we know what the product looks like, we can help you implement that product. And if you find something is not working, we are still a safe place for fixing the bugs as well.
That's tighter integration with your partner, I think, on a end-to-end basis. Great. In one of your earlier podcasts, you shared a very interesting perspective that really stood out to me as a sales professional, is that the real customer isn't the company that you're servicing. It's basically the person that you're interacting with. In sales parlance, we may call it champion. So, for example, if your main contact in a company is a VP or a CTO, that is a person that you should treat as your customer. Because when they move on, they take you along, and those are very key people for you, and they stand for you whenever there is any change or any new things happening. So what is your take on that? I mean, what gave you this? What is the background behind that key? Why did you think that the person is more important than the company?
See, in the kind of business that we do, we are doing product engineering services for customers, right? So we work for companies. When we do a work project for a company, it's not really the company that is buying from us, right? It's the people in the company that are our customers. They are the ones we work with. And the manager that is responsible for that product, we are part of his team, right?
Right.
So in some sense, the person who makes the decisions or drives results or who takes our software and incorporates it as part of his offering is really the customer in every single way, in a way. And so our objective is what we tell all our team members is that your objective is to make sure that your customer, which is that individual that works with you, be very successful.
Mm-hmm.
So he should feel like he's getting promoted because of you. He's getting, recognized for the work he does as part of you. And his productivity is seen to be very good. And all the boxes that are to be checked off are checked off clearly. Yeah. So getting him to succeed even in the current business is very critical, because if he succeeds, then he's succeeding because of you. So
That's
your project is successful as well, right?
Very interesting.
And then if you have helped someone make their career because of your contribution, then they are aware of that. They don't forget you on that, and they take you into the next deal as well.
Great. In one other conversation, you mentioned that interesting, very, very interesting from a sales perspective. As a salesperson, I thought it was very interesting because you said when customers used to come to you and ask for discounts, you would say, well, set me up a meeting with your CEO and you can get your discount. And in the bargain, you got some 150 meetings with CEOs. So what was the thinking behind these CEO meetings? What did you want to achieve at that point in time to get to the CEOs? And what was the background?
There is a little context to this. This I did in 2008 time frame, when the global financial crisis was happening. And the context of this was that, this happened again where customers were bailing out in 2001 as well. So at that point, we realized that, when customers are not doing well, or if they are shrinking or any of those things, kind of being supportive and working with them at that point is very important, because then you have a chance of them thinking of you as a true partner,
Yeah.
and hence they take you to wherever they go and how they succeed and all that.
Right.
So, you don't want when the times are not good, you don't want your vendors to run away from you.
Absolutely.
And that is a critical thing that we realized. And in 2001, when the market was down, instead of necessarily chasing new customers, which was very hard to do because there weren't people ready to buy, focusing on our existing customers, ensuring that they survive and do well, was very useful for us for the next set of things.
Absolutely.
So in 2008, what happened is that, and I remember there was a mail that was sent out in September 2007 from Sequoia that said basically, stop spending. So basically they just said that we don't know how long this bad situation is going to last. So just imagine it's going to last for a very long time and conserve cash. So if you conserve cash, then basically you want to cut off some projects.
Correct.
And people are trying to look for discounts and other things. So one other thing that I find is that when you are doing a discount, right, you are in a way doing a favor for someone.
Right.
So you want to have the ability that favor is recorded in some way. May not necessarily be through a written document, but at least conceptually it's being recorded at the senior most level, so that when you want to cash on that goodwill, you have the ability to do that. So anytime I recommend to anyone that if you're going to give discounts, which you have to, just make sure you are giving it at the right level.
Absolutely.
Because if you give it too low in the organization,
it won't be recognized.
Then you don't get the benefit of it. That
Absolutely.
person will take the benefit of it.
Absolutely.
So if you can take it high up in the organization all the way to the CEO, then that discount is worth a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, very well said. From a sales perspective, I think you're making the CEO understand that the discount you have given is from your side. So that's really a great perspective. Yeah. And as you keep reinventing from one orbit to the other, and you mentioned your focus was always on the market leadership. Now, in your own words, you have mentioned that normally there are 3 leaders in a domain. What is really very interesting for me to understand, can you share insights on how you could maintain this leadership right from the beginning till date? I mean, this is a very, very important perspective, and it's really very profound to be always a market leader, or at least one amongst the 3. So what kind of insights can you share on that? How did you maintain that?
So first, the theory that I've found and I've read in multiple places is that there's this concept called the power of 3, which basically says that in any market, and they typically refer to large markets, the large markets have typically 3 players. And if there are a large number of players in a market, they actually consolidate each other, or they'll buy from each other. And eventually in large markets, you're left with basically 1, 2, 3 players.
Yeah, max, yeah.
And like, for example, in India, airline industry right now, we have Air India and Indigo. All the others have kind of disappeared.
Even telecom, for example.
Telecom, we have the same kind of thing. So in any market, typically, the 1, 2, 3 survive. The rest of them pretty much are not there, and they go away. So that is very clear that, leaders are important, and leaders get unfavorable benefits as compared to those who are not leaders. So this is very clear, and we could see that. And then the question is, if you are a smaller business, like we were, or even now we would be considered a smaller business, when you say you want to be a leader in the market, how do you define leadership, right? So we came up with this theory that if you are about 20% of the market share, then by definition you will be one of 5.
Correct.
And that would make sure that you are typically one of 3 or even one of 2, because very few people have that high amounts of market share when they are trying to sort of, so they don't always have that bigger market share. So 20% market share is a good market share to aspire to. So now if you are running a smaller business like 20 crores, 25 crores, or even $25 million, and you want to be 20% market share, you should define the market to be 5x of that. So
Correct.
Like if you are a $20 million business, you should define a $100 million business.
Right.
And go after it, because when you define the $100 million business, you know exactly what that business is, why are you where you are, who are the kinds of competitors you have, and all of that stuff. And from the buyer's point of view, if I'm a buyer, I always tend to buy from leaders. So if I'm within the top 20%, I'm within the top 3 or 4, people will know who I am.
Right.
And that helps me a lot, because when the buyer decides to buy from you without you having to chase them, that is sort of when you get leverage, you get pricing power, and the fact that people are coming to you, your sales costs come down significantly, and you are able to win in those kinds of markets.
Right.
So I really believe that being a leader is very critical. One, leader meaning being within the top 3. And being within the top 3 really means being having about 20% market share. And the fact is that when you say 20% market share, you as a company can define the market.
Correct.
So defining the market so that you have 20% market share is the key for founders to decide, okay, I am playing this particular market. If for some reason the market becomes very large, where you are a single digit percentage, then one is you are not differentiated, people will not be able to find you. And it is very hard to sort of, for small businesses to fight in a market where they are not differentiated. So differentiation is the key to creating this market segmentation.
Was this the foundation for your reinvention in every orbit?
Yeah, I would say that this has been one important part. And what happens is after a while, as I said, in these orbits, things start to not work anymore. So what happens is after a point, your leadership gets threatened, some other vendors come in, your market expands, market changes. So, it is important to re-establish that leadership every few years. And that is what reinvention is required to move from one orbit to the next orbit.
Fantastic. Great. So the leap that a startup takes from the first to the second orbit you think is one of the most crucial in the whole journey.
Yeah, because the founder who is very tightly attached to the first orbit has to make some very sizable concessions, I would say.
Yeah.
And for the founder, that's a big deal, because it is, after all, his business. Right?
Yes. And further, my question would be, some founder traits might be innate and some may be developed or significantly sharpened through the experience and challenges. So what traits do you feel were developed or significantly honed in your case when you moved from the first to the second orbit?
No, so first orbit, we were doing all kinds of things. In the second orbit, we decided to focus ourselves on outsourced product development. Mm-hmm. That's what we called it. And we defined what outsourced product development was. And then when you say, I want to be a leader in that market, you have to first be able to say it yourself that I'm a leader in the market. And then you have to have these typical analysts or people who are tracking that market segment to start to say that you are a leader in that market. So there is a lot of things you have to do from the positioning and marketing point of view to ensure that not only can you say you are a leader, but the world calls you a leader in that
It's a complete shift from the perspective from the first to the second, right?
Correct. In the first orbit, the goal should be to do what it takes to get things to happen. In the second orbit, now you know that you are not at risk, you will survive.
Yeah.
So now you have to figure out a way to make sure that you are selling the services you want to sell so that you can keep doing more of the same rather than trying to reinvent and find new services every time.
Fantastic. And you always reinvented on the leadership thing to find how you will be more and more, pertinent in the market or relevant in the market.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it was essential because, if you're a small business and you're not a leader, then you have no pricing power. You are always at risk at somebody cutting you out. Most vendor consolidation activities are always trying to cut the tail.
Correct.
So if you're one of the small players in a fringe player even in a large market, it's actually very difficult to make it, I guess.
Yeah. True. So, Anand, was there a point in your journey that felt like a real low at that time? But, looking back, it turned out to be a defining moment, something that not only shaped the next phase of your business, but also played a significant role in shaping what you are today who you are today as a leader. Was there any kind of a point?
Right. So at every transition, it was some of that, because in 2001, when we moved from first orbit to the second orbit, this was at the when there was a lot of action because of the Y2K
Yeah.
having completed. We were not part of that, but all of a sudden, all our competitors started to.
I saw the reason why you were not part of it. You said it's below your dignity to do that.
I mean, it was a pretty dumb job, right? Meaning, but the fact was that we were not doing it, and after we completed it, all of a sudden, there were a lot of Indians, software companies in the US trying to sell to
Right.
everyone. So differentiation was very critical for us at that point.
Correct.
And having differentiated and been very clear that we are focusing on this kind of business and nothing else, it really helped us a lot. In 2008, again, during the global financial crisis, all of a sudden the market kind of just disappeared.
Right.
So then again, you have the same problem, right? How do you rearrange your business so that you are able to manage that kind of a stuff? So we changed some of our offerings. We met a lot of people. We listened to them. We tried to review what we are trying to do. Basically, sharpen the saw, as they say,
Mhm.
and looked at new offerings that we should go after, because doing the same thing was not working, and there was a transition in the market. So there was an opportunity to rethink about what's going on and try some experiments with newer technologies and newer business.
So you have spoken about having a playbook, something you turn to when the company is going through bad
Yeah.
times. Now, what really interests me is how that playbook evolved. After all, it's not very easy to write next steps when you are not even sure what kind of bad times you'll be facing. So, can you share some insights on how that evolved?
So during 2001, we built this playbook where we said, okay, when the market is kind of bad, accept it. Don't try to fight it, because there's nothing you can really do. It's the overall market being bad. So that kind of a situation we saw in 2001, we saw in 2008, and during COVID again.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, everything froze. People were not buying. So you had to rethink about what you are trying to do, right? So first, you have to accept that. Second thing we found is that support your customers. You don't want to ditch them, is what I said. That was again a very important part of what we decided is an important part of the playbook. So go to the same customers, ensure that they will retain you, find out what needs to be done, agree to discounts if you have to, but maintain that relationship with the customer.
Absolutely.
Don't walk away from them, because whenever the market improves, those customers have to be retained. Otherwise, you will have to start from scratch again all the way.
Absolutely.
So that's the second thing. The third thing, of course, is that you must work with your employees and let them know that what is happening. When the market goes tight, everybody in the company realizes that there is a problem. And then there is a lot of uncertainty and all of that stuff. And you don't want to lose employees at that point.
Sure.
Because really, you want them when the market comes back up again. So trying to share the pain, explain what's going on, be open about it, work with your employees to, go past this crisis in some sense. That is a third important thing. Fourth thing that we find is that, in these kinds of markets, you usually get some time to sit back and rethink. So this is the best time to tool in new things that you might do, as they say, sharpening the saw.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you have a downtime a little bit. You have some forced issues where you get some time.
Yeah.
So at that point, you have to kind of rebuild your skills.
Kind of introspection also.
Yeah, introspect, and more importantly, acquire new skills, hone your new skills, tune your new skills, so that when you are ready to hit the market or the market gets ready for you, you are already trained with the new set of things. So that's the next part of this thing. And finally, in these kinds of markets, it is important to conserve cash. So that is one other very important thing to think about, is when the market is not doing very well, then you have to throttle down your cash spend.
Right.
And you can do many things there. One, of course, is try to collect money early if you can from your customers, though that is hard because they are also struggling. Maybe do partnerships with employees to say, can we share some of the downtime? Maybe do some deals with vendors as well. Negotiate some discounts.
So at all
reuse
levels,
some of your cash
Yeah.
that you might have, so that
Right.
you can go at it in a new way.
Right.
So that's typically the playbook. And we found this playbook to work not just for large companies, but for small businesses also. So during COVID, through this DeAsra Foundation, I work with many small businesses. And at that point, again, we felt that this playbook was very, very handy for even the small business.
You talked about times when it is a little rough and tough, keeping the employees. So this is my next question is that as organizations grow both in headcount and across geographies, scaling culture becomes one of the biggest challenges for any founder or leader. In your experience, how did you preserve this culture? How do you scale this? And employees today, if you ask anybody working in Persistent for a long time, they say it's so good to work here. I mean, this is something that is very remarkable about our company. How did you?
Yeah. So culture, so the culture is a very important thing, but it's kind of hard to sort of fix, articulate, or do things on it. Culture is all about how you behave, right? And the worst behavior that you demonstrate as leaders is your culture, basically.
Absolutely.
So the way to think about culture is that, you have to sort of be clear about the kind of behavior you expect from yourself and from your employees.
Right.
And demonstrate it.
Right.
So that's the most important. Not just talk about it, but demonstrate it. The next part of reinforcing this culture is to build stories that help people understand what this culture is, so that there are stories within the company that help, because people don't remember the culture board or some specific things that you might
stories
put
are
up.
easy to remember.
It's stories that people remember. So you have to say, okay, I have this particular thing that I want to talk about, or this is a specific kind of behavior I would expect. Then what kind of stories can we create that can re-amplify or share that this culture is really this story, or this particular trait I would like to see happen, right?
Right.
And then finally, to reinforce culture, not only do you need stories, but you also need rituals. So culture is, as I said, is how you behave. You expand or let people know more about culture through the stories that you create. And then you have rituals that reinforce those kinds of things. And your worst behavior is really your culture. So you have to understand that as leaders, you are being watched by all your employees. And how you behave on a daily basis, or in the, inside, outside, wherever, that is what is going to define the culture of the company. So you have to be very careful about how you behave and how you operate.
Especially tough times, for example.
Especially in the tough times, but even in the good times, actually. Because even in the good times, if you are just splurging or doing things that are a little crazy, then employees keep that in mind and think that that's the right thing to do. So being very clear about and deliberate about the behavior that you want to show in the company is very critical.
Great. Every successful entrepreneur often has a mentor, so who has guided them through challenging times. So can you share something about that, about your own mentor?
Right. So, as I said, every orbit has different kinds of requirements, different kinds of things. So, I have many different kinds of mentors that I have always maintained and tracked. And I find that having these mentors is very important. Also, I find that each mentor has a role to play.
Absolutely.
So they play a role in certain areas. So I have some mentors for whom I would go to for technology related activities.
Right.
So I want to learn new things. There are some people I will go to and pick their brains and sort of ask them to help me with those. There are some with whom I do family related discussions. What can I do? How do we work and all that? And then there are some where they're business and professional. So you need to have your own set of a dozen or so mentors that you have who are sort of specialized in different areas. And I find that, from very early days, I've been very fortunate to have had many mentors who have been very supportive to us. So as I said, I came back to India in 1990 to start Persistent. I was about 28 at that time.
Right.
And many of the industry stalwarts in the IT industry by then, they were at least 10 years older than me. So, but as a startup early stage founder and the CEO of the company, they were CEOs, I was also CEO. We had a seat on the table, but I was always younger than the group that I was hanging out with. But that really helped me, sort of use these other stalwarts who had run larger companies or who had more experience to sort of be the big brother available for me. So I tapped on that goodwill that I could get and the fact that I could be naive. And I was naive, so I could use that fact that I don't know enough to go ask stupid questions.
Excellent.
And I got really good response from most of the people. And if you are genuine and you ask things,
Sure.
in a right way, and you're not being a pain, then people are
You get
quite
help.
happy to share with you what is there. You have to find the right place and the right
Absolutely.
occasion. And sometimes those nuggets that you can get can be very, very,
Very
powerful.
valuable. Yeah. Very valuable. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll give you one example of what happened, So if you're ready and you're ready to pick up. So I was at an event that was organized by a VC, small event, where there were like 30 companies, let's say, and a few VCs. And they had invited CK Prahlad to be the chief guest.
Mhm.
So he was the main speaker. And he spoke for about an hour or so. And then this was in New York. And then we had cocktails
Mhm.
and no dinner. So that's pretty typical in the US, right? So they'll have cheese and wine toast and all that. So we had that. And CK was there also. And I was there. And I asked CK saying, dinner ka kya karna hai, right? So there was no dinner. He says, well, I don't have a plan. I said, then why don't we sneak out and have dinner?
Fantastic.
So he agreed. And then because I asked him, he was willing to go with me. We ended up going to a restaurant next door. And I got like 3 hours of guru mentor
Wow.
type opportunity where he shared lots of different ideas of what can be done. So, sometimes you have to be ready to accept.
Absolutely.
And if you get the right opportunity, then you should be able to.
And even taking the
exploit it.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Taking the opportunity is another
Correct.
thing that you really
Correct.
can.
And then he stayed in touch. And then, like this, there are many people I've had the good fortune of working with. And I find that by and large, most people have been very generous with their time to me.
Fantastic. Nice to. Okay, now coming to your DeAsra, the foundation that you have built with your family, the coinage is so beautiful. You explained DE stands for Deshpande, and each of these RA stand for the
They're the family names of the family members.
names. Yeah. And I'm very interested in the name of your son Arul, which is more a Tamilian name.
Yes, it is a Tamil name.
Tamil it means blessing.
Yes. The reason we picked that name was because, if you look at, we live in Pune, and if you look at and we don't have phone books now, but when we used to have phone books, there will be at least, 70 pages of Deshpandes and 3 columns of Anand Deshpande. So finding some name was always a...
And also being in the initial list, having an A in the name it's important
We didn't think that much about it, but we just wanted to have a name
which is unique.
that seemed unique, so he could get at least one entry in
Fantastic.
the phone book.
Very good. So, DeAsra kind of supports businesses in the 5 lakh to 1 crore turnover,
Yeah.
and especially those who run into roadblocks. And you mentioned that at some point, I think last year, 300,000 businesses.
We are now at about 425,000 businesses
Right.
in the network.
And your goal was to have about 500,000 coming to your portal in a year.
Yeah. So we are, so that's the goal. And then we want to get to about 10 million overall. But right now we have about 425,000 in the network.
The question is on the outreach. How are you able to get
So a lot of it is coming through social media and through partnerships.
Okay.
So one is, we have partnered with several organizations who have their own trust networks of groups of people that are part of that group. So we end up working with them quite a bit, and they bring us the new.
Bring you.
And also social media is another place. So we advertise on Google and other places, and we can see the flow.
Right. So from there you get these numbers. That's really amazing. So that was one thing that stuck with me. And then you talked about the second orbit, which was mainly for helping companies 10 to 25 crores.
Yeah. So typically what happens is at a certain point, the founder maxes out.
Yeah.
Everything that the founder can do, he has done. And he reaches a point where, the business is not growing, but the founder is pretty much exhausted all that network, all the people they knew, all the customers they can tap. And they're not sure what to do. So then they need to look at a new plan. And that's sort of when this transition is needed. And so we have a course now to help companies move between first orbit and second orbit.
That's run by this Gokhale Institute, right?
No, it's run by us. We worked with Gokhale for 2 batches.
Mhm.
We also did 2 batches with IIT Bombay.
Mhm.
And this is I do with Ashok Korwar.
Right.
But it's our kind
Module.
of copyrighted
Right. Absolutely.
thing that we call it second orbit.
Yeah. So, since this is the most crucial part of the journey of any company, that's why second orbit, right? That's the rationale behind it.
No, as I said, business growth is a sequence of S curves. So this S curves is the first
The very first
orbit,
S
the
curve.
second orbit,
Yeah.
and the third orbit. And this transition from the first orbit to the second orbit is unique in a way because this is where the founder has to do something different.
Right.
So that's why that transition from first to second orbit is kind of critical, and we call it second orbit.
Right. And so you help these companies with various stuff. So do you also help them with funding and other stuff?
No, actually, I don't fund these companies.
Mm-hmm.
But there is enough funding available in the market. So I help them if they need to
Get there.
get funding.
Okay. Right. And is this also open for companies that are like NGOs who are looking to kind of, because normally NGOs have challenges of outreach and
we
funds.
haven't done it, but I do realize that they have similar problems and we could include them as well. But typically, I think DeAsra might have better offerings for NGOs, and we have considered creating an NGO type offering for DeAsra Foundation as well.
Okay, great. And with DeAsra, you had this number goal, for example, you mentioned 500,000.
Yeah.
So do you have a similar number goal with second orbit?
No,
or
not right
really?
now. We are still trying to figure out exactly what the best model is.
Right. And this can change from company to company and from business to business, right? I mean, the second orbit.
We have found that the issues are very similar.
Okay.
The issues across industries, across companies. This whole premise that if you have to transition from first to second orbit, what do you need to do? We find that there is a lot of similarity between many companies trying to do that same thing.
Right. So that's how you made it into a kind of a consolidated thing. Great. Okay, Anand, with the rapid advancement of AI, we are already beginning to see its transformative impact across industries. From your perspective, how do you see AI reshaping the technology and tech services landscape in the coming years, and what kind of opportunities and challenges do you foresee for companies operating in this space?
So yes, AI is definitely here, and it's very clear that AI is actually, creating significant improvements in productivity. So it writes much better code. You can do documentation. There are lots of things that you can do with AI. So individual productivity has significantly improved because of AI. There's no doubt about that. So now the question here is, in the IT or tech services business, typically, we charge for effort in terms of how many hours of work and all that stuff. But with productivity increasing very significantly, there's always this discussion as to who gets the benefit of that extra productivity. Do we get it as providers, or do the people who are buying from us, they say that now you have used the same number of hours, but now, of course, we expect more productive hours. So I think that business model change will evolve itself in the next few years. But at the moment, clearly, we are starting to use AI to improve the quality of work and the productivity that we do. And also, because of AI now, new kinds of applications are possible that we would not have even attempted in the past because of the cost and the ability to look at large problems using AI in a big way.
Right.
So I think that's another big opportunity for tech and software companies in general, because the number of problems that need to be solved can increase now very dramatically.
Absolutely.
So the skills required have changed, right? So in addition, so just the programming skills are not enough. You need people who can understand how to get AI to generate the code rather than you generating the code yourself.
True.
You also need to have the ability to, orchestrate this at the right price point, and also be able to ask the right questions. And the whole skills that you require for running an AI project are quite different from non-AI project.
Yeah.
So it requires all of the people on the teams to retune themselves, figure out how to work better, and improve how they can respond to these kind of tricky things.
Absolutely.
So that's the hard part.
So there's a challenge as well as an opportunity there.
Yes, absolutely. So there is a challenge for sure. So that's that's where we have to all learn how to adopt AI and get better at it. But also, when we do that, we should be able to do it in a way that we can take the benefit of meaning we see better returns
Absolutely.
for the efforts that we put in.
Sure. And now, what emerging trend or technology excites you the most right now?
So I like tracking new things, and I find that at this moment, if you were to ask me the top 3 tech things that I see in the horizon for the next few years, one would be, I think, energy. And if you look at AI and all that, getting the right amount of energy at the right place is going to be critical. I think we are in the midst of some interesting rediscoveries in terms of nuclear and other things, where I think energy and how we look at energy is going to change dramatically. The second area, of course, is intelligence. With AI coming into where it is and what it is doing, we now have the ability to have intelligence on tap. So just like the internet created ubiquitous connectivity, mobile phones created the ability to get in sort of ubiquitous compute and tech on your through the apps on your mobile handset. You now have ubiquitous intelligence happening because of AI. So now how do I trap that and make sure I can include it at the right place for the right people? And those kinds of opportunities, I think they are quite exciting.
Okay, great.
And then the last thing I think is very important is biology. So energy, intelligence, and biology would be my top 3.
Okay.
I think because of this advances that we have seen in the last few years, biology has become engineering now.
Okay.
Prior to this, biology was more a science or an art or whatever else. But now biology is very much engineering. So this whole bioengineering as such is going to be a big opportunity for the future is where I think. And I've been trying to spend some time trying to learn about some of the excitement in this area.
Okay, great. Now, you have had the opportunity to interact with so many entrepreneurs across different generations, and I'm sure you are witness to how dramatically the startup ecosystem in India has evolved. When you started your own journey, the environment wasn't exactly conducive to entrepreneurs, and there were a lot more hurdles than support systems. But today, it's a completely different landscape. In many ways, it's the best time to build a business in India with a thriving ecosystem and a far greater access to capital, mentorship, infrastructure.
Correct.
Now, the environment we operate does shape our mindset. So, if I were to ask you, what's that one defining trait you consistently see in today's generation of entrepreneurs, and how does it compare to the mindset of founders from your time?
So, one definite difference is that today's entrepreneurs are definitely more ambitious. They are willing to take risk. And they are exploring newer ideas than were traditionally done. So typically, when we were starting out, it was mostly we were trying to do the same things, perhaps do it a little better. But we were not really exploring new business models a whole lot. Today, people are able to experiment, try new business models. And I think it's quite exciting to see the confidence and the risk capabilities that young students or young people have right now.
Absolutely, right. So if I have to ask you, what is the best advice you have received?
No, I'm not kind of the guys who, I listen to everyone but do what I want to do. And I'm not, I have for many years now, for all my life, I have been that way. So I listen to a lot of people, I take their inputs, but then I believe that, either you lead, follow, or get out of the way. So if I'm leading, that's my call. I make my own decisions.
So there's a good saying in Marathi, like, Aikawe jagacha and karawe manacha.
Yeah, that's sort of what I believe as well. So yeah, I listen to people, I get lots of good advice, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to act on it. And that's really what it is.
Sure. And if you permit me to ask you, what is the best advice you have given ever to?
See, right now, 2 things I tell people. One is just do it. You have to do things because a lot of people, meaning there are way too many people who talk about things and do nothing. So actually doing something is the important thing. So don't just pontify, experiment, try, and just do it, right?
Just do it.
And the key to success I have found, and which is what our name as well, the company is called Persistent, right?
Right.
So being persistent is really what makes the difference in success or not success. So and one of the nice ways to think about this is how I look at, say, an athlete or someone. So when you look at athletes, they fail a lot. They have many times where they, you drop a catch, some things or the other happen. But those who come back the next day, they are the ones who succeed, right? So being persistent is really the key to success. And those who can sort of persevere and come back again, they are the ones who will succeed.
I do the similar thing with sales as well. I mean, I compare salespeople with sportsmen.
Yeah.
And it's more or less the same. You win some, you lose some. So, you have a very similar training for sales guys. So I do the same, yeah.
Correct. But again, you have to be persistent, right?
Absolutely.
Even if you are selling.
Absolutely.
The number one thing you should tell your salespeople also is that,
Absolutely. This is a no-brainer to
being
say that.
relentless.
You have to
being
be relentless,
persistent is the key to any good salesperson.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. So, you have had an exceptional academic journey, BTech in IIT and followed by a PhD, and you're widely regarded as an authority in your field. In today's times, many young entrepreneurs and founders may not come from such strong academic or technical backgrounds. So what advice or message would you like to share with these young founders who are passionate and driven but may not have the same academic foundation as you have had?
Right. So, getting to the depth of whatever you are doing is very important for sure. But today there are many ways to learn new things, and we have many more tools now available for each one of us. So spend the time in learning to the depth of it, even if it's not academic. Any business you do, you must understand the nuances of it for sure. So getting deep is important. Academic credentials are not that critical, but the depth of the need to be deep in those domains is very critical. So that's what I would recommend. And today, potentially with ChatGPT or otherwise, access to information, access to curated data, the ability to ask questions and get answers at a very low cost has become kind of very easy now.
Yeah, that's true. And what 3 habits, if I have to ask you, has been really seen you through your journey and made you what you are today, and as a leader, if you can pinpoint any of your 3 habits that has helped?
No, so I'm quite organized in some way. So I have usually on a weekly basis, I know what I'm working on during the week. So I track my task lists very carefully. I also, one difference that I've made is that when I was running the business, I was definitely task oriented, but now I'm more time oriented. So instead of worrying about tasks and completion of tasks, I think a lot more about my time and am I using my time efficiently.
Absolutely.
So I take my week and distribute my week into by time into activities that I want to allocate for, and then there are certain activities which are not high priority for them. I allocate little time for it, so then they don't get into. I'm not driven by useless activities that I don't want to care about. So I spend a lot of time thinking about these kinds of things, and I find that my sort of being organized helps me in tracking what I'm doing and ensuring that I'm able to prioritize what is important.
Sure.
And not get lost into kind of crazy things. So
Absolutely.
Those habits have really been with me from a while, and I find that I like learning new things, and I spend a lot of time trying to figure things out and making sure I understand before I say things about it.
Great. Thank you so much, Anand, for this
Sure,
insightful
my pleasure,
meeting.
JK.
And it has been really, really very nice to hear it from you in a very open and a candid way. And,
sure.
Thank you so much for your time. And friends, now this is the end of this episode. And thanks for staying tuned. Please continue staying tuned as more and more episodes are coming on your way with successful founders and entrepreneurs like Dr. Anand. Thank you very much.
Thanks, JK. Wish you all the very best, and hope to see your book soon.
Sure. Thank you.